Welcome to Super Squad D's continued coverage of the 2020 presidential election between New Kids on the Block Party candidate Tyler Blunt and Surprise Party candidate Joseph Craven. Tonight's coverage is presented by Brian Williams, or so he claims. We haven't seen it yet. We now go live to the SSD studios for tonight's coverage.
And that over there is former vice president and presidential candidate Bob Dole. Your audio is not working, I found out. I'm being told by our chat that your audio is not working, which is a good point to me. Tonight, we have a very special episode for you guys. It's true. That's it. Tonight, our episode is going to be amazing because we know that right now, there's some stuff happening in the world, and specifically our country, right? I mean, stocks have gone up and down and probably back up. The cost of video games has certainly gone up. And, well, you know, when you compare right now to 2016, a lot's changed. We're going to get to that in a second. But tonight, SSD stands for Super Squad Decision, because you have a decision to make. Well, you know, tonight we're gonna have some big announcements for the channel because you know we generally tend to only do streams when it's a very important holiday like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Pet Appreciation Day, and of course everyone's favorite holiday, National Toe Clipping Day.
Is that what everyone's into these days?
Well, it's a national holiday. I don't make these things up. I just follow them.
Is that what? Good for everyone then. I believe I have fixed the audio issues, and I apologize. Thank you, Tyler, for carrying the program. This is, of course, SSDecision 2020.
That's right.
We are gathering here this evening in order to do the, well, basically just to give everyone a bit of a distraction from current events.
Yeah, there's things happening tonight, as I mentioned before. There's a lot going on. Stocks went up and down. Video games have been coming out. Comics have come out and then been taken off the shelf because they sold out. There's just a whole lot in the world going on right now. I think those are the most major issues that people care about right now.
I mean, everything that I've heard people talk about is exactly those and no other subjects at all. So the most important thing that we've got going on tonight in terms of current events is, of course, a presidential election. Between the two of us, we've just sent out a link for everyone to who's tuning in to go and vote for who they think should be president here at the end of SSDecision 2020. Now, there is a reason that we are doing this vote. Tyler, the main reason being what you and I have discussed in private, and what we are now unleashing, if you will, onto the public of some big event, some big video series that we're going to be doing here on the channel. But what will shape the direction that we take with this series is who is voted president tonight. So because of that, we're going to open up the episode here, just presenting a little bit of what our platform will be if we are voted, I guess, SSD president. We didn't really designate what.
No, this is president for America.
President of the United States.
People don't know this, but this is actually legally binding.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. If you didn't like the other candidates of the main two parties, we are the other parties.
that's right. We are the other parties. You might be thinking to yourself, why couldn't one of you be president and the other be vice president? And to that I say, that's a great idea. Had we thought about that before the show, perhaps that's the direction we would have taken.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we didn't think of that. And so now we're in a dead heat in a runoff.
So, that's why it comes down to you, dear viewer, you are going to elect. I'm sorry, what was that? Did a fly land on your head? What's happening, man? Are you okay?
No flies in this debate.
It's up to you, dear viewer, to elect a president here in this opening segment. So, what we're going to do is very briefly explain a little bit of what our platform looks like if we were elected president. So, Tyler, being the gentleman and scholar and handsome man that I am, would you like to go first in just explaining for about 2 minutes your platform if you were president?
Absolutely. Chris, if you could put 2 minutes on the clock, that'd be fantastic. I will stop speaking when that time is up. I will not go over. I will not interrupt. I will obey the pre-agreed to debate rules.
Of course. And for anyone asking, of course, Chris here is the producer of the show. It was worth noting.
There's no producer, but I will now be starting the debate in which we have set forth and decided upon to start as of now. The debate, you are listening to it, it has begun, and this is it. And these are the words that I'm saying to sway you into voting for me. Because what I am saying to you is extremely compelling, interesting, and exactly what you want to hear. Not over the top, but it is exactly that spot that you know you can't vote for the other person, because if you do, you might be evil. Now, I'm going to say a few words that I think are going to resonate with you and are really going to speak to the issues that you care about. Family, country, God, America, love, peace, justice, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, and a little self-control. Comic books, movie stars, swimming pools, Texas tea, black gold, millionaires. Jed, get away from there.
And your time is up. Thank you, sir. That was very good. All right, that is Tyler's opening debate, his platform. I think he spelled it out pretty well. Even as his opponent tonight, I'm voting for him. I'll be brief on my platform here. In the depth of my knowledge,
Wrong. Disagree.
of politics. In the depth of my knowledge of politics, I know that people ultimately only truly care about one thing.
It's the truth.
Taxes.
I mean, I lie.
Taxes. It's taxes. So I promise you, as president, I will only speak about taxes the entire time I'm in office. I won't even have any conversations with anyone about any other subject matter. I wake up in the morning, my wife is like, hey, how did you sleep? I'd be like, I'd be sleeping a lot better if we changed taxes. And then change the subject from there. And so I'm going to adhere to taxes, and I'm going to answer all the questions that everyone has about taxes. Important things like, where's Bruce Wayne's tax return? Why won't he release it to the public? Right? Where's that money going? I'm going to just ask whether or not Superman even pays taxes. He's not exactly from here. I don't know how it works. So taxes. That's it. That's my official slogan. Taxes... ... That's it.
As someone whose only credible skills in life are barely credible, I would say, relate to taxes, you've got my vote.
So it goes without saying, that's how people actually say that phrase. It goes without saying that we have each other's votes. Now it comes down to you, dear listener, viewer, your viewers tonight. So, Tyler, that being said, what's the project that we're planning on unleashing onto the public very soon here? Would you like to tease them a little bit with it?
Dangle it. I'll just dangle, a little dangle, jingle, jangle. Just a little dangle. So, I do appreciate the fact that tonight is all about unity from us, because every night after this is going to be about money. Nope, that's not right. It's going to be about taxes. No, that's not right either. It's going to be about discussing something that is extremely controversial. Because I have a theory. It's a critical theory. And I think it's true. And we're going to set out if we're going to see if it's true or not. And it's that on average, the DC movie universe and the Fox movie universe as a whole are not that much worse than the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And in fact, some of them might even prove to be better. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a comprehensive look at all the DC films, all the Fox films, and all the Marvel films, and we're going to break each film down and review it and score it. And we're going to decide at the end which of the three cinematic universes actually on par as a whole produces better content.
That's right. So what we have been working on for the past few weeks is making ourselves go back and watch or rewatch all the movies. We've started with the DCEU, kind of for better or worse. Kind of like, did we really want to, how serious are we about going in depth and actually just rewatching? And I think the focal point of like why we're doing this as well is because few years removed from when most of these movies have come out, we can look at it a little bit more objectively maybe, or a little bit less of like a gut reaction, more critical thinking sort of a way. Because like, as you said, we're not setting the criteria very high. We're setting the criteria as maybe they don't suck that bad.
That's right.
So we're going to come up with a rating scale, just a standard 10-point rating scale. We're going to go through the movies, sit down and discuss them in stages, and kind of give our personal ratings. Then come up with average scores on how much we've really enjoyed or appreciated these movies, and see how they stack up against the other cinematic universi. That's the plural, I feel.
That's the plural of universe. Universi. University. No, I think
university. That's the plural of
that's
universe.
It. Nailed it. I knew you'd find it. Hayden McGee, viewer from Ponchatoula, Ponchatoula,
which is a county in probably Maine. It sounds like Maine.
He has a question that is important. He wants to know if we're going to be watching Fan Four Stick and Batman and Robin. Yes, we will be watching Fan Four Stick. No,
because it fits in Fox.
It fits in the Fox universe, though not. I mean, we're going to be watching Fan Four Stick. Batman and Robin, we're going to give everybody a pass on because we all know that it's amazing. Nobody needs to revisit that film. We all know it's amazing.
Masterpiece.
So why don't you just say a few films that you're looking forward to rewatching out of all of these? Like give us 3 films that you're interested in rewatching. I'll start it off with one film.
Why would you even try to ask me if you're like, why don't you give us this? Actually, I'm answering the question.
I need to go ahead and get this out there because it's a core part of my platform as I'm running for president.
Okay.
Electra.
I, up until now, didn't know Electra was even in consideration, and it has made me really regret agreeing to this project with you. Man, okay. Wow. All right, if I'm going to answer, I'm going to say I want to go, I'm interested in rewatching whichever Hulk movie it is that people consider canon. I don't remember if that was called Incredible Hulk. Was that called The Incredible Hulk?
Yeah, it was with Edward Norton.
Yeah, with Ed Norton. I'm looking forward to rewatching that because there's a few of those early Marvel films that I remember diddly-poo about. And I don't, in particular, remember enjoying or caring about them at all. Yeah. And that actually includes, like, original Captain America in particular being one that I was like, okay, and I feel bad about it. So I want to go back and reevaluate now that time has passed. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing. That's what I'm looking. Evening, Graham. Good to have you here. So this is another good question from Hayden as to where we draw the line. We are talking about cinema, the big screen in particular. the starting point really being the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in particular, which means that we're really not going to look at, probably not, might throw them in as a wild card, but really not going to look at Sony Spider-Man necessarily.
Yeah, not part of the Fox, Marvel, or...
Too small of a sample size, too small of a sample size. But I'm going to start with that, and so with that comes the DCEU that came along later, so it rules out, like the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy is not a part of the DCEU proper, but we might revisit it as Spider-Man. Yeah. We might. I know you're thrilled.
Series to Batman. We're going to do the 3 Batman films, the Nolan films, and the 3 Raimi films, and pit them head to head. They all kind of came out around the same time, and see which film series stands the test of time. So that's kind of what we're looking towards. We're going to be putting out lists of what we're reviewing and when we're going to discuss it, so everybody has ample time to watch. But we're really excited about it, and if you vote for me, I'll absolutely give your films the rating that you want me to.
I didn't know we were still campaigning. Oh, I should have been more prepared. I would have had more benefits. I'll reveal my taxes. No, I don't want to do that. I don't really want. Well, I tell you what. Let's just move on. No Catwoman. No. Look, man. The basketball scene in Catwoman. I think we just need to do a deep dive into comparing the basketball scene in Catwoman and the basketball scene in Andrew Garfield, Amazing Spider-Man, where he dunks from like half court and no one seems to care, because they both bother me. I
totally agree with that.
They both bother me. Okay, let's move along just a little bit, and talk about kind of what's different now in 2020 versus 2016. No real reason why we picked a 4-year time period.
4 years.
It just seemed like
this time 4 years ago, different things were happening.
Yeah,
and
just seemed like a good time period. There's really no thought process behind it.
Yep, 4 years ago was an interesting time. I'll tell you what, there's a lot different than it is today. I'll tell you what didn't happen 4 years ago. We weren't on the cusp of new consoles coming out.
That's very true.
We were, because I don't remember. But I'll say this. I will absolutely, definitively say this. There were games that came out 4 years ago that did get reviewed. And tonight, we're going to look at those games.
The Nintendo Switch was on the cusp of release back then.
But I think I made it pretty clear that was a possibility.
So, but there was not necessarily a console war going on like there is right now. As well, oh yeah, the Switch just crushed it. As well, what we have something very important in the realm of movies when you compare 2016 to 2020. In particular, the fact that we've really seen the COVID-19 impact on movies, the whole movie landscape this year in particular. And so now, well, hold on. Let me just wait for a minute. Because Tyler's running mate, Raleigh, has just shown up in the chat. And so,
Raleigh, I'm glad you're here to help me as my running mate. I think that we're going to make great candidates. I have a pre-written message from Raleigh that I would like to read that he sent in, only to be read once he showed up. He has some important words to say to you, and he's going to be saying them through me, which I'm starting right now. My fellow chatgoers, freedom, justice, religion, love, politics, agnosticism, thoughts, critical thoughts, important critical thoughts, stock prices, oil prices, gas prices, video game prices.
There it is. Wow. I really don't think I could have said that better.
Sincerely, to be continued.
No, I know for a fact that he stopped writing at this point in time.
Raleigh.
I know for a fact that he did not say any of that at the very end. I know that for a fact. Okay, so what's up to Raleigh? But anyway, movie landscape drastically different now than it was. So we thought we'd maybe take a quick moment to compare the realm of video games and the realm of movies. Okay? Tyler, does that seem all right? You were making some pretty good googly eyes right then.
I was very interested in the direction you were going with that sentence, and I approved.
Good. Well, I'm going to pull up real quick. I'm going to get our producer, to pull up a quick look at the list of... So this is Metacritic's top rated games, or 90 plus rated games of the year 2016. Okay? Hey, Graham, by the way, Civil War versus Batman versus Superman. That's the biggest thing in my head because I had very different reactions to both of those movies. Okay.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that happened in 2016, actually, from what I recall.
Yeah,
those two movies came out and they went head to head. People were divided on which one they liked the best.
So I'm really looking forward to being able to discuss that some. But this is what Metacritic had for if you guys look right here on this list that's just right here next to me, all over here. This is Metacritic's top games of 2016.
Wow.
Okay. And we're just going to go with Metacritic's list because Metacritic has a list of 2016 and a list of 2020 so far. So it's easy to compare because I know there's a lot of games that will not be represented on this list. So if anyone wants to shout out in the chat their favorite games of 2016 that don't show up here, please do so. But we're just looking here. Uncharted 4, Thief's End. Universally acclaimed, wrapping up the Uncharted series. By the way, Uncharted movie, looking very enticing. Recently, I believe,
Holland,
wrapped up filming. Mm-hmm. But when you look at these top 8, a couple of them being duplicates because Metacritic didn't differentiate by console in this particular list. But Uncharted 4...
Overwatch!
Yeah. Overwatch twice. Rigged. What stands out to you, Tyler? Because there's one thing that I mentioned before we went live that I thought was very funny, and I really would like to see.
Baseball 17, I think, was the real dark horse of 2016. We all knew the game was going to be great, right? But nobody expected it to take number 3. I thought maybe top 10 on a good day.
92 score, universal acclaim for Out the Park Baseball. What even is this?
Really don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm ashamed to say I didn't play it. I feel a big part of 2016.
I feel like I need to find it and play it now. Out of the Park Baseball 17 was apparently crushing it back then. All right, back to the list. Good for it. I do like that Inside is in the number 2 spot here. I haven't actually personally played Inside, but I'm a little bit familiar with it, and I think it's great that a game that was like a small studio indie game like that was getting that level of attention. What I thought was quite funny was that The Witcher 3's expansions were good enough to be number 4 and 8 on this top 10 list. The other as we keep going down, it's Inside again, Overwatch for the 3rd time. And then you know that it's a rough year for video games when NBA 2K17 is getting that high of reviews here.
That was not a great year for games. Let's just be honest. That was not a great year for games. Overwatch takes 3 of the top 10 spots. I don't think so. Two of them max. But you start talking about 3, and you've gone too far.
Yep. So let's look at... All right. By platform specifically, PS4, 690-plus games. I don't care about all this, okay? All right, so clearly, you've got the ones that were mentioned. You got Uncharted 4. You got The Witcher. You got Inside. And you got Overwatch. So those were the top PS4 games. Was this a good year? What are some other games? I see Raleigh's mentioning Battleborn.
Yeah, Battleborn. That was a fun game. That was a good game.
I see. What makes Steven's sausage roll so good? It's the quality of the sausage.
Yeah,
and it's
like the key. Steven puts in love that nobody else can seem to replicate.
Right, exactly. You'd think that it would be entirely the sausage, though, but that roll, the love that gets put in there.
Mm.
What's this game?
Très magnifique.
Yep. The focus of Steven's sausage roll. Let's just zoom in here. Producer, can we please enhance the image?
Enhance image.
Enhance.
Roll the Minority Report.
The focus of Steven's sausage roll involves nudging sausages around to fully cook them. Why weren't we all playing this game in 2016? This sounds great.
I feel like I'm playing the wrong games. I'm going to be honest with you. I am totally playing all of the wrong games.
What was I even doing in 2016?
I regret playing Final Fantasy VII this year. Instead, I should have played Maggie's Magpie Creation. That's what I should have been playing. Or Horse Farm Simulator 3.0. Those are the games that I think are probably going to be the top-rated games of the year. Genshin Impact? No thanks.
Yeah, get that one out of here. Okay, so Tyler, we've got Steven's Sausage Roll, Outside the Park 17. If you were to look back at games that came out in 2016, just pull up a list. I'll stall for time so you can pull up a list more effectively. Surely there's a game you played in 2016 that you enjoyed more than Steven's Sausage Roll. Although,
have we mentioned Overwatch yet? Did we mention Overwatch?
You did play a lot of Overwatch, didn't you?
Overwatch was great. Overwatch was a good game.
I wasn't really as into it.
So Firewatch came out. A lot of people love Firewatch. Mafia 3, that was another one that people really enjoyed.
I do remember that one.
Titanfall 2 came out. Doom, the remake by ID Software. Res Infinite, Battlefield 1. These are all pretty popular games. Fork Knife, don't know what that is, but it sounds like an interesting game. Okay, Fire Emblem Fates. That was a game that did come out. Pokemon Go?
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go. Street Fighter 5. You know, I'm really looking through the list here, and it really was a pretty big year for games. Okay, now this
there's a few that really stand out. Like Civ 6. I like a Civ game. I'm a fan of those. I know you. What's that?
Monster Hunter Generations was also a good game. I mean, there were some decent games, but none of the games that I'm seeing on this list make me go, this is a must play today. Like, you got to stop what you're doing and play one of these games. I wonder if it's that way this year.
Maybe Uncharted 4. But like when you compare that list that we just saw, and like Graham and Hayden are throwing out. Well, I'm sorry, Hayden was just talking about Steven's Sausage Rolls, and I saw that comment again, and I just felt like I had to re-mention it. But Graham's mentioning some of the. I mean, why is the NBA game? Why is NBA 2K rated so highly that it shows up on Metacritic's top 10 list? You know, why is that on there? It really feels like some of the games that should have gotten a little bit more attention, you know, got cheated there. But you look at it and it's like, well, when you start looking at the full list, how many of these really stand out 4 years later? Uncharted, Overwatch had staying power, you know, but like Titanfall 2, it didn't necessarily do very well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I played it. It didn't last long.
Yeah, it was okay, I guess. And of course, one of the major names to have come out in 2016 that was definitely
was the Cubs. The Cubs. That was their year.
You're right. That was them. Definitely.
The best part of 2016, Cubs. Clearly.
But one name that obviously like really super underachieved in 2016 that shows up here is No Man's Sky, which did so poorly that they got sued for false advertising.
And years later, I bought the vinyl.
It's a good vinyl. And honestly, years later, it was a really fun game to play as well.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think about 2020? I'd love to know the chat's reaction after going over this. Do you think 2020 was better or worse?
Yeah, if you had to guess, shout out in the chat if you had to guess before we pull up the same Metacritic list, which, Tyler, you and I can see this because we're previewing it before we put it up live.
Yeah.
But we can look at the list, and the first thing that stands out to me, before we go live with it is it's a better layout of a list.
The list is just better. It's well made. In 4
just a
years,
better
Metacritic really got their act together on their web design. That's absolutely true.
Yep. Hayden says that Rise of the Tomb Raider was 2016.
It's
that one didn't get any love.
This shirt fit me better in 2016. True
that
story.
one getting a lot of love. Your shirt, I guess. Okay. So we're getting Scott says he does think 2020 is better, but Graham's going to guess that 2020 is worse.
Yeah,
because
Game Pass is amazing, though.
I'm sorry, Tyler. I believe you mispronounced it. It's Games Pass.
Game Pass? Game Pass?
Sorry.
Games Passes? I'm very confused.
It's just apostrophes. It's S's and apostrophes. Games Passes.
Yeah,
University.
I'm with you.
All right, let's pull up the list. This is Metacritic's 2020 list so far. And you'll see right off the bat, it's a better website design. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is what we got. I mean, top of the list, they're throwing my darlings. The crew from P5, Persona 5 Royal, is at the top of their list so far.
That game because it's fantastic. You really reminded me that the game existed because I forgot about it.
Yeah,
but it was fantastic. I only played the first Palace, but it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm currently on my first playthrough of Royal, third playthrough of P5 in general, and like not slowing down, like just loving it. Got the urge to put it back in. I'd gotten through like the second Palace, got the urge to put it back in the other day, and I've just like been just blowing through it over the weekend. And I plan on doing a more in-depth video about Royal specifically pretty soon here. But yeah, so as Kevin, as most of us probably expected, Last of Us Part 2 is right there in the list as well. Makes total sense. Right off the bat, you've got... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I have no experience with Last of Us 2, or 1 for that matter, but I've heard they're amazing. So, at least it's a game I recognize more than 3 Overwatches, a sausage cooking game, and a non-EA baseball game.
Can we please revisit... First of all, EA doesn't make baseball games, but can we please revisit...
Not anymore, they don't.
Not anymore. Not
to come out.
Not since that. Can we revisit the fact that the description for Steven's sausage roll doesn't even say the focus of Steven's sausage roll involves cooking sausage? It says pretty clearly, just right down there, it says it, that it's to nudge
sausages around to fully cook them. Like they're already partially cooked. Like when you get them, they're like the pre-cooked sausages from the grocery store that you put in your fridge that go bad after like a week. And they're like, hey man, throw these on the pan, just nudge them around, put a little water, put the lid on it. Wait about 10 minutes. These sausages are going to fully cook, and it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great. Level 5, I've heard, is you putting them in a microwave. And then the whole level is you try not to stand it too close to the microwave because you're not really sure.
I can't, man. It's too hard.
You're not really sure. Oh, my gosh. Okay, let's go back to 2020. But, yeah, the first thing you notice is that Last of Us Part 2, I mean, one of the most highly anticipated narrative-based games in the past few years. Makes total sense that it's there. You've played some Hades, and I know it's currently...
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's correct me if I'm wrong, is it a dungeon crawling type game? I have not played it.
Yeah, it's a dungeon crawling type of game where you're constantly dying and trying again and seeing how far you can get. It's like a roguelike type game, but it's extremely well made, very fun. I'm very in, love it. Couldn't recommend it enough. Oh, we have Half-Life Alyx, which is everyone's favorite Half-Life 3 almost game that they want to play but can't because Steam made a stupid new console VR thing that's way too expensive to justify buying just for that one game.
Yet some people are going to do it. Now, I'm glad that you explained to me that it was a game because I looked at the title here of Half-Life Alyx and I honestly assumed that it was a Siri-like home AI, like a little box that you'd ask to do, hey, Alex, can you please hand me my crowbar? And it would be like,
Alex,
sorry, I didn't quite get that.
That's it.
That was the joke.
Of face-sucking monsters out today. Please remember your crowbar. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex. It does. I'll scroll back up real quick. It does say something to me looking at 2020 that their like top rated game right now, at least, is a like updated, like basically like with a bunch of added features and DLC version of a game that came out a few years ago, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that says something to me. But so Alex is on here though. I mean, it's highly rated for what it is. I guess if you're into VR, it was kind of the jam of VR games.
Yeah, it was. I heard you could open up your door like with keys. You'd be like, let me get my keys. It's mind blowing. Like you just open up your keys and make coffee all day. I mean, yeah, you could do that in real life, but it's not nearly as cool because it's not on the TV. Though it does serve a more practical purpose when you're locked outside your house.
My only real understanding of Half-Life Alex comes from watching like Instagram clips of the guy from Epic Mealtime, whatever his name is, Hurley, the guy from Epic Mealtime playing it, and it's funny clips. That's all I got. I'm unfamiliar with Ori.
Ori is an amazing platformer. The soundtrack is phenomenal. You know, one of the things that the Switch has absolutely done is revitalize the platform industry. And now Ori was not originally a Switch game, but it's on the Switch and it's amazing. Cannot recommend it enough. Hades again. So Hades is clearly the Overwatch of 2020. Confirmed.
That's what we've been saying for forever. And there's Microsoft Flight Simulator, which we've been saying for forever is the Dark Souls of flight simulators.
Absolutely. Everyone knows it. You're like, man, this flight simulator.
This is it.
This is the flight simulator. It's it. This is it.
That was their slogan when the game came out. It was Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is it.
This is it.
But it's on here. It makes me so happy that it's on here because, like, honestly, I might like buy it as soon as the stream is done.
7 remake that people have been waiting for 20 years? Nope.
No.
Microsoft Flight Simulator.
This was the remake we've been waiting on. Yeah, I'm making a list here of the games that I plan on like getting into as soon as the stream is done, like looking them up.
Flight Simulator up to the top, didn't you?
Yeah, so Flight Simulator's there. Steven's Sausage Party absolutely is there. Yeah, and I'm gonna look into this outside the plate park. Out the park plate baseball 2017. So
for those
definitely
over 11 in the chat, Hundo is short for 100. Just thought I'd make that clear. I'm clearly down with the millennial speak and Gen Z and even Gen Alpha, which I believe is the Gen after Z.
I have not played Crusader Kings 3. However, being a fan of epic strategy games, I have played Crusader Kings 2 like a few hundred hours, I think. It's been a lot. It was a lot. I used to play it a lot at the job I was working a few years ago where like it would require me to sit around a lot. And
you were the guard for the nuclear launch codes.
That was it.
Power center. It just required you to sit around. You didn't really do anything. So you're like, just kick back, relax.
You'd be shocked how few people actually even want those.
Yeah,
we tried giving them away, and no one was interested. Called up my uncle Vlad over in you might know him.
He was like, "Hey man, you should run for president in 4 years," and you were like, "Done."
You got it.
Here we are.
You want me to? You're forcing me to? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Scott in the chat got Crusader Kings just to play it as a dating simulator, which I think is maybe the best. It's an epic strategy game where you're trying to like create like, you know, generation upon generations of holding on to like an empire, and he was like, "Nope, not doing it. It's a dating simulator now." And I respect the crap out of that.
I respect you.
I hate that an F1 game is on here.
Because you're so good at them? Is that why? You're so good?
Because I'm the king.
You're the king of F1 games. Everyone knows it. We all say it.
Spelunky 2.
No, Spelunky 2. Mm-hmm. I never played 2, but 1 was really hard. But fun.
It was. Shockingly hard.
Now we're getting into the jams. Here we go.
Yeah. But of course, I'm shocked to see New Horizons this low on the list.
Me too. Honestly, I'm going to say this was review bombed down to a 90 because it clearly should be a 91 at least.
Yep. I didn't mean to open up this page, but I did. So there it is. There's the more details. But 90 on the animals and their crossing ability. Ori showing up again. So Yakuza 0 or Yakuza O is here.
I think that's the correct pronunciation.
Yakuza O. But check out, the trailer just said drunkards in really loud, large text.
What more do you need to know about Yakuza O other than drunkards?
Yep, drunkards. Okay. But check out that user score. Like, I've played Judgment. I've dabbled in some of the other like Yakuza games, and they're fine. You know, they're not as like massive as a GTA or something most of the time, but they got a lot of like just random stuff. But this user score is higher than the average user score for Animal Crossing, which I think is interesting.
That's confusing. I'm telling you, Animal Crossing was review bombed. So
that's interesting.
I know Final Fantasy is on there somewhere. Clearly, it's not been rated as high this year. Xenoblade Chronicles, a remaster, but a great game nonetheless. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, again, another remaster, but amazing remaster. Amazing.
Not quite a 90. I'm intrigued by There Is No Game, simply because of the title. If anyone's played it in the chat, shout us out.
They couldn't find anything to put there because they didn't have it was an awkward score. So they're just like, there is no game that goes here.
Yep. Dreams is on here. Donkey's videos on Dreams were some of the best. That's the only interaction with Dreams I have, and they were great. Hayden says that he's going to start a petition for the sequel to Yakuza O to be Yakuza. Oh, hell no.
That's pretty much the best you could do.
Yep. So Ori and Tony Hawk are showing up as the Overwatch of this. Doom Eternal all the way down here at 21.
Heard it was great, though. Heard it was great.
Still getting those high 80s in the rating.
Yep.
Master Chief Collection. Yep. A short hike. I have a short hike, and I want to do a backlog adventures video on a short hike pretty soon here.
Oh, we should do that.
We should. Let's do it right now. Forget the rest of this episode. Yep, Pistol Whip. Hey, there's Kentucky Route Zero. I've heard good things about that.
Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Monster Hunter World being one of my favorite games. Iceborne, it was all right. There's Final Fantasy VII Remake. Okay, so way down on the list at an 87, which is still not bad, but not as good as I feel like it deserves. Okay, so in the scheme of things, guys, what year do you think was better, 2016 or 2020? I'm going to go ahead and say the year that was definitively better is the one that you prefer, and I will stand by that for your vote.
Oh, how nice of you. How nice of you to have done that. So I think it's telling, first of all, that you get into 2016 and the top ones on the list are ones that you're kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. You know, that makes total sense. But then, you know, you're like, okay, once you get to like 3, 4, 5 on the list, like, really? How? With 2020, I felt like all of them up in like the top 10 or so, you looked at and you're like, yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And I think it says something that you had to get all the way down to number 30 before you got to like the most highly anticipated game in like 2 decades, you know, in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So I think that says something about 2020. I think 2020 has been a good year for games. And maybe it's needed to be because so many of us have kind of just been at home a lot more and, you know, COVID quarantines, all that sort of stuff. Like, I feel like maybe that's where it should be. So, I don't know. Chat us out in the chat if you felt like 2016 had better contenders as far as video games go. But, Tyler, I feel like maybe we need to start talking about the big screen and cinema because in doing what marginal amount of research I did before the stream started, it's another noticeable trend.
So let us know, before we get into this, what year you think is going to be better for films, 2016 or 2020? this is going to be interesting because 2020 has been rough for the film industry.
Yeah. Yeah. So like if 2020 was a good time for um like for games because it became much more of a go-to source of entertainment for so many people. Maybe the movies didn't stand out as much. Let's look back at 2016 real quick. As Hayden asked why there's no option for a write-in candidate for the election. There should have been an option for our producer, but sadly, our producer's running mate, Kanye West, immediately beforehand let our producer know, oh, sorry, I actually had other things going on right now, and I can't do it.
Yeah, that was a disappointment for everybody.
Yep. Oh, for sure. All right, let's pull up this list real quick. Looking at 2016 on Rotten Tomatoes. So we went with Metacritic for video games. Maybe a good decision, maybe not. But and here on Rotten Tomatoes, again, I mean, it's the same style of website. You know, that's why we went to it. So, but their top movie was Zootopia in 2016.
Never saw it, but there is a great Shakira song that came from it that I do jam to on the reg. So,
Oh, that's good. That's good. I was really hoping that you had seen it because you have a kid and I don't. So
yeah,
I'm really
maybe we're
disappointed.
gonna watch that this week. Maybe this is a sign, guys. This could
Maybe
be a
so.
sign.
Maybe so. Hell or High Water is on here.
It is unfamiliar with that film.
Yeah, I don't remember anything about it, but
I think from what I heard though, it was like a demon portal, but also a flood, and it was like who's gonna win?
yeah, it was a disaster movie.
It was the high water that actually ended up winning.
Spoilers, come on, man.
I said spoiler alert.
Oh, did you? I didn't hear you because I was talking. No big surprise. But Arrival's here at number 3, and like, you pit Arrival, in my mind, against most other years in general, and it's gonna win. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
I wanted to because I like Amy Adams. I haven't.
But you hate Jeremy Renner, so you didn't. I understand.
Can't stand him. Can't stand that guy.
For me, it was really difficult for me to overlook Michael Stuhlbarg.
That sounds like a name.
Stuhlbarg. But yeah, I loved Arrival. Thought it was amazing. So it's going to win most years, as far as I know, or as far as I care. Moonlight's on here.
One of the stuff, I never saw it, though. My daughter did purchase it when she was, I guess, at that point, 2 on Amazon repeatedly. And I had to constantly tell Amazon, I did not intend to buy this movie for $17. Please refund this money. This was my 2-year-old. So maybe she has good taste in films. I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I feel like just because of that, yeah, it's getting on. It was someone will have to remind me if Moonlight won.
I believe
Best
it did win.
Best Picture. I think it won Best Picture.
Now we're getting down to a film that's plot that I know, but also did not see. The Jungle Book.
I've become a big. This is a bit of a tangent. Surprise, but I've become a big Jon Favreau fan recently.
Yeah.
He was always kind of like, okay, he's fine, for most of the time that most of his career. But what won me over was the Netflix movie Chef. It's just kind of a light.
It is a fantastic film. I agree. Wholeheartedly endorse that film.
Just kind of lighthearted, it's just one of those classic
Did he direct that film?
He directed it, yeah, and starred in it, and he was like, it's just like a father-son bonding movie, and it's just good. But out of that, the guy that basically taught him how to cook, a chef out of LA named Roy Choi, he basically taught him how to cook and was like his hands in the movie. So anytime there's a close-up shot of cooking going on, Roy Choi was doing the cooking. And Roy Choi has a lot of tattoos, so Jon Favreau had to get copied of Roy Choi's tattoos for the shots to work, which I think is great. But they became good friends, and now they have a show that's out on Netflix called The Chef Show.
Oh,
and
cool.
It's one of the best cooking shows I've ever seen because it's basically just a few friends talking about life and cooking food. And I'm like, can I hang out with you? So anyway, I like Jon Favreau a lot more because of that.
And The Mandalorian, of course.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, so
Unfamiliar with Love and Friendship.
I can tell you for sure you're unfamiliar with both of those concepts. I've known you my whole life nearly, and you have no concept for love or friendship. You're very unfamiliar with that. Yeah.
Vote for me. But Finding Dory's here.
But Finding Dory is here. Again, never saw, but I did like Finding Nemo. I'm willing to say it was pretty good. You know, I'm really noticing there's no superhero films so far.
No, yeah, it's kind of shocking.
Those don't traditionally get rated the highest, but
you would think that some of them would have been certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and make this list, right? Like you would have thought that. But yeah, Finding Dory's very good. Kubo and the Two Strings is on here.
Heard about it. Heard that it was amazing.
Stunning artwork for sure in it, which I think is really cool. Manchester by the Sea got a lot of attention, some positive, some negative because of Casey Affleck. So I take that for what it's worth. But for what I hear, great movie. Moana's on here.
Good soundtrack, never seen it.
I'm not a... I hate to say it. I'm not a huge... I don't hate to say it. I love saying it. I love letting people know I'm not a huge Lin-Manuel Miranda fan. Not a big fan of his.
I really thought you were about to say Dwayne Johnson, and I was about to be really upset.
Oh, you kidding me? Everyone loves The Rock.
I can live with you not liking Lin-Manuel.
Yeah.
I can't live with you not liking The Rock.
So that's interesting to me that this was 2016's top 10, because if this was on here and like there were no blockbusters, so shout us out. Yeah, Kubo and the Two Strings getting a lot of love in the chat, which is always nice.
Yeah.
So
here's some 2016 superhero films, okay? It was chock full of them. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Batman versus Superman.
Heard of it.
Deadpool. Captain America Civil War. Suicide Squad. X-Men Apocalypse. Doctor Strange. And of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows.
Wow, I didn't realize Out of the Shadows was 2016. That's a game changer.
And Max Steel. Yeah, Max Steel.
Was that Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the movie?
Yep, indeed it was. Indeed it was, my friend.
Nice. I always thought it was weird they were doing a movie adaptation of Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but hey, more power to them.
So that was a year for superhero films, certainly. I mean, Deadpool, like, regarded as one of the best comic book films, true to character. Definitely not for all ages, but people really love Deadpool. Like, in general, it's really well received. Batman versus Superman, people seem to hate it, and it's very poorly received. Civil War, people are kind of split on. I think a lot of people enjoy it, but don't think it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of seems to be the trend there. Suicide Squad, again, some people liked it, but most people did not think it was that great. Not nearly the hatred levels for either one of those as Batman versus Superman. And then X-Men Apocalypse, which might have more just overall dislike than Batman versus Superman, I think.
Apocalypse and Suicide Squad. So I had not seen Suicide Squad until recently, basically when we started doing this upcoming like project. And they're going to be pretty close in my head of how I feel about both of those movies. And it ain't good. Spoiler alert, it ain't good.
Spoiler alert. Yep. So
there was a lot.
Doctor Strange, which was actually pretty well received, I think.
It was. Maybe not the most like dynamic plot and some, questions about casting for sure, but the visually speaking, one of the best movies I've ever seen from a purely visual standpoint. I thought the effects were outstanding.
I have a new TV coming. It's super high-end OLED. Mm-hmm. And one of the first films I want to put in is my 4K Doctor Strange, just to see what it looks like on a TV.
Okay, so first of all, quit bragging. And second of all is also just quit bragging, man. That was a lot to brag about. Quit bragging about so much stuff. The Killing Joke was 2016, Graham points out. Did you get around to watch The Killing Joke?
I did. I absolutely hated the stuff that they changed about it,
Yes,
what
yes,
they
yes, yes.
added. Um, but I did see it. It was a film, and if you take out that part, the stuff they added, I think it was pretty good. But I just couldn't get past the stuff they added.
Yeah, the
That
stuff that they like
very unhappy.
beyond. Oh yeah, beyond the stuff that they added. I mean, it was incredibly true to the source material. It was
And very
almost
well
just
made.
like shot for shot, almost just a.
Mark Hamill
Mhm.
and
That was
sorry, I
it.
saw the top of the screen and I was just very distracted for a sec. Mark Hamill as well as um, Mark Hamill.
That was it. It was just Mark Hamill the whole
I
time.
mean, he did all the voices. Mark Hamill did all the voices. So yeah, so it was an interesting year when you think about the films that came out because in general, I think I look back on that year and think, well, it certainly had to be better than 2020. But when I actually analyzed the films themselves that came out, there was a lot of bad to mediocre films and not a whole lot of films that really blew me away and stuck with me as, wow, this is a top tier film that I will always look back and remember fondly.
Yeah,
I,
that's a
I,
good
I
point.
can't even think of one, actually, that just I absolutely loved and blew me away.
Like not even a single one.
No, I'm not from the list we talked about from 2016. I liked a lot of them, liked a whole lot of them. In fact, controversial opinion, I actually kind of love Batman versus Superman, the extended director's cut on second watch. But in terms of like the actual theater releases for those years, I think my favorite film would have been Doctor Strange, probably. And
I get that. I get that.
and that wasn't really anything crazy, awesome, special to write home about. Maybe if I'd seen Arrival, that may have been the film that
Yeah.
took it for me. I know that took
I
it for you, but
yeah, I loved Arrival. I've seen it multiple times. I just think it's great, and it's that. And if you've seen Arrival, you know the cello song that's in it, and it's just when that cello song starts going, I'm done. I'm done. So I think because of that, that's going to stand out for me. I don't think. Yeah, you talk about the controversial opinions. I was a fan of Batman versus Superman initially. I thought it was a deeply flawed movie, and it still is. But I actually enjoyed it because of various reasons we'll get into in detail later on. Well, let's look briefly, I guess, at 2020 here, because what you're going to find when we take a look at this 2020 list on Rotten Tomatoes is A, it's going the opposite direction. But B, the lack of blockbuster releases in movies makes this fascinating to look at just because you look at it and go, huh, this was a weird trend to see. All right, so let's just take a look here. First of all, I have not seen, I'm going to go ahead and let you know I have not seen like any of these movies.
okay, I appreciate the honesty there.
But looking at the genre, so first of all, Crip Camp is a movie looking at teenagers with disabilities in the early 70s, okay? So furthered representation for, children with disabilities. Important stuff, all right? Dick Johnson is Dead is like a documentary type thing, okay? Driveways, a character study,
Yeah.
all right? His House is involves escaping from South Sudan,
Okay.
all right? Sudanese refugees, all right? The Legend of Walter Mercado. I don't know this one at all. Astrologer, okay. Do you notice trends here, Tyler?
I mean, I'm seeing almost like a lot of, as I'm looking through some of these films, documentaries and films that nobody's probably seen.
It's a lot of documentaries, and it's a lot of like current events,
Yeah.
and
Character
like
studies, current events type.
character studies. Like this right here is Welcome to Chechnya. This is
Yeah.
entirely about perils to confront anti-LGBTQ things in Chechnya. So it's all, I would have thought, and this is like the main reason I keep, looking through the list, is all in the fight for democracy. All right? It's all about voter suppression. Athlete A was about the abuse in gymnastics, USA Gymnastics, stuff like that. I really would have thought that with such serious issues going on in 2020, like global pandemic and quarantines and all of this stuff going on, that people would not be as interested in heavy subject matter as documentaries and character studies and movies about very serious issues. But they are, and I think that's fascinating.
So obviously, even though 2016 didn't blow us away, it was better. Like everybody knows it was better. But here's an interesting
In terms of like blockbuster movies, like what you think of when you think of like going to the theater, if you can remember what that's like, but going to the theater, watching big blockbuster, all of that.
So here's an interesting thought though. Let's just think for a moment about what movies were supposed to come out this year and just imagine if they would have been better. Because the two big ones, well, I know Tenet came out that I didn't get to see yet. I want to, and I know it was pretty loved by a lot of people. Wonder Woman was going to come out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And Black Widow was going to come out this year. I don't know if either one of them would have blown me away, but it was interesting. That definitely would have been a stronger outing in terms of just like blockbuster films for 2020 had those released. So
yeah, definitely.
But honestly, in terms of following up, when you think about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, after such a banging year last year, it's hard to follow that up with anything just like crazy out of the park this year. Especially given all of your like main movies are on cooldown. Not that Black Widow wouldn't have been great, I'm sure it would have been, but none of those are the big blockbuster films you would think about being hyped for. Wonder Woman, I think, had a lot of buzz around it. People were really excited about Wonder Woman 84. That would have been probably the standout, but interesting just to think in general. I don't know that it would have been that amazing of a year for films overall, even if we hadn't had the pandemic. Interesting.
I think you're probably right. I just think it's very fascinating that like 2016 had a lot of big budget like blockbuster movies in general, because you just you listed off all of those superhero films that came out, right? You listed off going to Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman and all that stuff. What's that?
There were like 8 films.
Yeah. So there's a lot of it. And 2020, I don't know if it's just because, like, obviously with theaters being closed and everything, a lot of people were not looking for blockbusters, or blockbusters not coming out. But there were a lot of movies that went straight to streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting that so much of this, Birds of Prey was 2020, Scott. But so much of this list here is like serious subject matter and documentaries, and that people were very interested in continuing to explore like the human condition in movies and stuff, and serious subject matters. So
time to be alive.
Yeah. So a better 2016, a better year to go to the theater. 2020 maybe a more significant year for like documentaries and films like that. You know what I mean? So it's just curious. I'm not sure if I can necessarily just say flat out 2016 is better just because it had more entertainment value, but it definitely has more entertainment value.
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting. So here's the question I think I want to ask you as we kind of wrap this part up right here is, what do you think if we look, I don't know, I'm just an arbitrary amount of years later down the road, let's say 4 years down the road, just completely arbitrarily picking 4 years out.
Because I can tell you, we'll be doing another election stream in 4 years. Maybe the next stream that we do will be in 4 years on election night.
Right.
But there will be an election stream in 4 years. You can write it down, rejoin us. We'll see you then.
But what do you think that we're going to see? Do you think that we're going to see more big name, big budget movies coming straight to streaming services? And do you go ahead, answer that.
It will be interesting. I do think there's a good chance, because I don't think the pandemic is going anywhere anytime soon. I don't know that even next summer is going to look anything like the last few years have looked for the movie industry. And so that makes me feel like there's a good chance more movie theaters are going to close, or that films are going to be forced to release on some type of a digital streaming service, even if it is alongside the theater. And so we are potentially seeing a new way to experience new films in the home. If they have any level of financial success, I believe that's going to be a picture we're going to see from here on out in some form. And because of that, I would expect that the movie industry in 4 years may look pretty different.
Yeah, and that's the key statement that you made, is if they have any level of financial success. Because I don't know if the movies that have gone straight to streaming have had that level of financial success that they would have wanted to make up for this year. In particular because they kind of just had to take the studios had to take the payments from the streaming services first and foremost. Yeah. And the streaming services saw like some uptick in subscriptions, but not really, if I remember reading, not really the uptick in subscription numbers that they expected to see as more content has come out. I'm curious to see what the future of things like, if we're going to see more stuff like The Mandalorian come out and more almost mini-series like shows that are basically just like extended movies.
It's certainly like Marvel is putting, and Disney itself is putting a lot of their eggs in that basket, right? We had and those were announced before the pandemic. I would assume it would only continue because it's a much easier to shoot and much cheaper. But you have a lot of Marvel shows that have been announced that were in cinematic universe, and now DC seems to be following suit on HBO Max with the Green Lantern series and other series rumored as well. So I would expect that to be a trend that continues, and I think that's a good trend. I think there's a large market, at least in my heart, there's a large space for a long, extended, extremely high-quality TV series as opposed to a short 2.5-hour film. I'm much more of a TV series guy, and so I like the idea that those are going to be a continuing trend, but it will be interesting to see if perhaps the focus shifts even more so over the next 4 years.
Yeah, for sure. Shout us out in the chats if you think that streaming is going to be on the uptick, and also what you think the next trend in gaming is going to be. Because I wonder about whether 4 years from now, after the PS5 and the Xbox fridge have had a few years of being out and being the main thing, whether like those whether digital only is basically going to be the route that people go, and whether services like Games Pass, services like if the PlayStation ever really gets like PS Now to a point in which it is what it could be, whether subscription services and games are going to be the future as well. I don't know. You got any thoughts on that?
All I know is I've had Games Pass for about 8 months, and I cannot tell you how much I love it. Absolutely love it. 100% endorse it. Wish Sony would come up with their own version because it's killer. I would continue to be a subscriber for an incredibly long time. So I hope that's a trend that we see, and we can tell that Xbox is putting almost all of their eggs in the Games Pass basket, especially with the fact that all of their new releases are going to be day one playable on Games Pass. So
yeah, exactly.
It's very clear that they have a much broader plan for Games Pass beyond even just the Xbox console. They want to move that over to PC and get success. They want to be the Netflix of video games, and I think there's a good chance they'll do it if they keep on this trend.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the route I see going, and it makes me curious as to why PlayStation or Sony, I mean, has not done more with PS Now, because it seems like they have not pushed that service as much. They've really relied tremendously on like the PlayStation exclusives to keep them going.
Yeah.
We've done like an entire episode on that, so we don't have to go in much detail there. But I just wonder if their decision to rely more on the games, like the exclusives they have and things like that, will come back in about 4 years to hurt them if they haven't offered a little bit more in like the subscription service, whether PS Now becomes something kind of equivalent to Games Pass or something like that. That's what I'd be curious to see. Graham thinks that Games Pass will expand and Sony will copy it. But what I think is interesting, what he says, is that he thinks in about 4 years, we're going to be dealing with more like streaming games, which he says games no longer need to be installed, which is kind of one of the tenets of PS Now. That maybe Sony is trying to push that, and maybe in a few years Sony will have gotten that to a point that takes off. Unlike like the Google Stadia had never really quite took off,
Yep.
So I wonder if that will work out. I don't know.
Will be interesting. Will be very interesting to see.
Yep, for sure. Well, I think it's about time that we start wrapping things up here, and I think it's important that we pull up the results that we've counted so far.
Wow.
In tonight's poll on who should be president of the United States of America. The people have spoken. Although I really feel like a huge amount of you are not American.
Oh,
but
no.
Either way, your vote counts. And here it is. Overwhelmingly so.
It's a done deal. I can undo my tie. I'm going to do absolutely nothing I said I was going to do. I will abuse my power horribly. And I'll be here for 4 more years as a pain in your side. You fools! You fools!
I mean, to be fair, you said you won't do a thing you said you were going to do. You didn't say you were going to do anything at all. So, like, if you do anything, you will have absolutely betrayed our trust. So,
That's
well.
Facts!
I concede gracefully, and I put on the loser's chain.
Wow. Ooh, yeah. That's going to bind you.
It is. The second place, Michael Jordan chain.
Graham wants to know about the Electoral College. There is a chance for you, even though I won the popular vote. There's a chance.
I just want to know who was the one person who voted for me.
That's it.
Because I'll tell you right now, yep. Looking at the results. One person voted for me, and I know it wasn't me because I voted for Tyler. So,
and I forgot to vote, which makes me a bad candidate and citizen.
Oh well. So I don't know. Whoever, we'll just say that you won the popular vote, I won the college, and it's got to go to Congress or wherever it is.
The Supreme Court.
So, yeah.
Okay, this has been a great Super Squad D, where the D stands for decision.
It's SSDecision 2020. It's been a good one. I'll tell you what, real quick before we get out of here, I do want to show. There's a poster for the movie that has not come out yet that I'm most excited about. I'll just bring it up real quick.
Here it is. Oh gosh, what a setup! What a poster. I don't know, man. I got no more words. I have no more words. Oh, I did want to say, real quick.
Good night, everybody.
I have an upcoming video about Spider-Man costumes. They're awesome. Make sure to look for that.